does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Says. I am your host, and welcome to episode 125, my folks. And this is the NFL preview episode. LA Rams kicking off a new NFL campaign, and I've got your preview and your predictions for the upcoming season right here. So keep it locked. And before we get too far into the actual content, let me just say that it's been a summer of Satan, you know it. And, well, this year I decided I would go ahead and follow the Rams and cover the Rams here on the outskirts of the city once again, as I have for the past several seasons. I decided to do so after giving it much consideration, deliberation, and, with everything going on in the world and with all of the other distractions out there, I considered perhaps not covering my Rams this season. But I have to tell you this. I believe this year, the 2025-26 NFL season, will be a glorious campaign for the Rams. I do believe it. I feel it in my bones. And so, well, I felt this would not be the season to discontinue my coverage of the Rams. I'm going to give you these episodes differently than I have in the past, and so you'll see as the season moves along that there will be changes, adjustments, amendments, and addendums to the way that I've brought you previous episodes. But I had to cover the Rams this year because I feel that things are going to be very, very bright in Ramsville this season. And so, before I give you my official prediction, I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there for the people. And now, with all of the preliminaries out of the way, let's get right into it, shall we? And I have come to believe that with the adjustments, the additions, with the overall state of the LA Rams, despite some concerns about Matty from the D and his back and all of that contract dispute business, I have come to believe that the Rams are in prime position to make a very deep campaign into the postseason. And so I'm going to go ahead and just start from reverse and tell you here and now, I believe the Rams will be in the Super Bowl, dog. I do believe so this season. Now, as you know, I make my predictions, and then as the season goes along, when we get to the end of the season, the playoffs get underway, and I go back and tally up and see how well I've done. And now, if you've been following along, I have a pretty impressive track record of predictions and seeing into the NFL future, seeing the NFL landscape unfold before it actually occurs. So I'll give you my Super Bowl prediction right now. I believe the LA Rams will play the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl. That's right. No KC this season. They won't make it back. No Philly this season, but I do believe the Rams will meet them in the championship game. But this year, 2026, I believe the Rams will have their revenge against the Eagles and advance to the Super Bowl, against Baltimore, who will have their revenge against Buffalo, and it will be Rams and Ravens in the big game. And I'll leave just a little bit of intrigue as to who I think will pull it all out for the end of the episode. So now, let's get right to the state of the Rams. Well, the big off-season acquisition, as you know, Davante Adams comes in. Now, he spent many seasons in Green Bay with COVID toe and became a legendary receiver, and then he spent 1 year with the lowly Raiders, and then followed COVID toe out to New York to the Jets. And you saw what an abysmal output they had there. And so now Tay is in the fold with the Rams, with McGenius, and he is paired up with Puka Nacua. And I would go so far as to say that is one of the very best wide receiver tandems in the entire NFL. Now, you don't hear much about them. You always hear about the receivers with Cincinnati or the receivers with Minnesota, and deservedly so. But I believe that Tay and Puka will be a formidable duo. And then you got Tutu as your third wide receiver. And so that wide receiver room is tight and will be right, I do believe. Now, having said that, we must say farewell, bon voyage to Super Cooper Kupp gone. No more Ram. Now back in his native stomping grounds up in Seattle. And so we'll see Soup twice a year at the minimum, as long as Soup is with Seattle. And I think Seattle they'll be decent, but Soup had a magnificent career as a Rams receiver, Triple Crown winner, prolific, and so we do say one love, Soup, one love, and wish you well, except for when you play the Rams, of course. And so now, let's just get right to the depth chart. The depth chart for the LA Rams at wide receiver, as I mentioned, Davante Adams, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, and then your backup wide receivers, Jordan Whittington, the X-Man, Xavier Smith is there, and there's a young man, Mumpfield. I knew it was something, Mumpfield is on the depth chart as well, on the 53-man roster at receiver. At tight end, I think you got a pretty decent tight end room also. Big Higgs is your frontline tight end, but then you got Colby the Ghost. Hopefully he won't be doing any vanishing acts this season. And Davis Cousin Allen, he's your third tight end there. And then let's look at the running backs. Well, you got K. Will. He just got paid. Feeling good. Just got paid. So he is your frontline running back. And if he can avoid injury, I think he will have another substantial season as your starting tailback. And then backing him up, deuces. It's Blake Corum, who showed well last season as a rookie and is expected to get a few more touches. And then you've got your third running back is Jarquez Hunter. I don't know much about Jarquez, young man, but we'll see as your third string running back. Now, we've been looking at the skill positions, and you can't go without talking about the signal caller, the man at the helm. Who is it? Matty from the D is back. Let's talk about Matty. Now, Matty had an eventful offseason. You know, he took offers and there was contract dispute and the Rams held a line and he went to visit. He went to talk to the Giants. I'm like, I know Matty doesn't want to go out to the Giants of all places. So eventually, as I expected, he did sign with the Rams, and he wants to stay put with McWonder, you know. So that was all well and fine. But then, after all that, the man couldn't play in the preseason. Well, here's the thing with that, though, my folks. McGenius, he really revolutionized preseason, didn't he? McGenius came in. McGenius said, "You know what, my frontline people, you're not getting any snaps in preseason games. None of you. Sit down." He likes the joint scrimmages. He, you know, with Dallas or whoever, he likes those, and he believes that's where he gets his frontline players their work, in these joint practices that he enjoys so much. But the actual preseason games, you don't see them. And so the thing is, my folks, is I don't believe Matty was going to play in the preseason anyway. And this whole issue about his back, while I don't doubt that he has back issues, he's 37 and he's been beat up pretty good over the years, especially out there in the backwoods, in the wasteland, in the Detroit, Siberia of the NFL, with the Lions put him up. He took a pounding over the years, and he's a tough fellow, but he is 37, as I say. And so, I do believe he's got issues, back injury issues. He's got probably a variety of things. Remember, he had an elbow issue. He had different things. But McWonder says that when the season kicks off on September 7th, happy birthday, Mom, shout out. When the season kicks off on September 7th, McWonder says Matty will be ready to roll. And I believe that he will, and so the question is, will he be able to hold up through the rigors of a 17-game season? Well, we'll just have to see on that. Hopefully so. And so, if in fact he can, then I think the lights are green all the way down the road to the postseason. Now, backing up Matty from the D, watch your girl, Matty, is Jimmy G. Jimmy, the porn star lover G. And so, we didn't see much of Jimmy G either. Again, McWonder, you know how he does it. And who we did see quite a bit of was the third string quarterback, young Stetson Bennett. Well, McWonder loves himself some Stetson, doesn't he? So, those are your quarterbacks in order. Now, we've covered the skill positions. Let's look at the line, because the line is critical. And there were a couple of departures. Well, the Jonah Jackson departure, no harm, no foul. Okay, but one departure, I have to say, I feel somewhat relieved about. Note go boom is note go gone. Note go bye-bye. Note is no more. And so now, let's look at your offensive line. Left tackle, Alaric Jackson. He is expected to hold it down. There are some concerns with health with Alaric. I don't even really want to go into it too heavily, other than to say hopefully he'll be there for the duration. Your left guard, that's your left tackle, Alaric Jackson. Your left guard, Steve Avila. And that's his position now. He owns it. At center, well, we had a return. Coleman Shelton is back. You know, Coleman Shelton spent essentially his whole career with the Rams, but he left last year to go out there to Chicago with the Toothless Bears. And they gnawed at a couple of people, but you can't get too far when you're trying to gum your prey. So Coleman Shelton came on back home. And now he is back in the fold as the Rams starting center. I like that. And then, well, at right guard, you know the deal. Kevin Dotson, that's his spot. Give it to him, it's his. And then, well, right tackle. Look who it is. It's the original St. Louis Ram, the old guy, Havenstein, Rob Havenstein. Is it Stein or Steen? Somebody let me know. Either way, Rob is back. And I can't help but suspect this will probably be Rob's last go round, but who knows? We'll see how he holds up. And so that is your starting offensive line. Now, let's flip it over and look at the defense. Let's look at the defense very quickly. And I'm expecting big things from this defense. And part of the reason, a big part of the reason that I suspect the Rams can really do some damage this season is because of that defense. That defense is just getting hungrier, and it's gonna have more experience. And I believe that players like Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and that secondary, I believe these guys are going to be even better than they were last year. They were getting better as the season progressed. And so your aforementioned defense, your outside linebacker, Byron Young, your defensive end, Braden Fisk, nose tackle, a new arrival, came over from the Chargers last year, Poona Ford at nose tackle. Your defensive end on the other side is the conductor, Kobe Turner, making beautiful music. Your outside linebacker, Jared Verse, V8, vroom, vroom. Inside linebacker, Omar Spates. And a new addition, Nate Landman, inside linebacker. Nate Landman, he spent his first 3 seasons in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds. And so now he comes over to the Rams. He's going to be your starting inside linebacker. Troy Reeder will now back him up. Your corners, let's look at that secondary, your cornerback. So your cornerbacks, Akello Witherspoon, Kobe Durant, and Darius Williams. 2 of those at any given time. You got Cam Curl and you got Quentin Lake Q as your safeties, and then Cam Kinchins is a backup, is your second string safety, among others. And so that is your defense, my folks, and I'm expecting big things, as I say. And then on special teams, well, your punter is Ethan Evans. He proved himself to be quite valuable in his role last season. He'll also be your placeholder, and your kicker, your field goal kicker is Joshua Carty. Carty was hardy last year. And then punt returners, X-Man, Xavier Smith, and Jordan Whittington and Blake Corum will also share kick return duties. And hey, Cody Schrader, the running back out of Missouri that the Rams pilfered from the 49ers practice squad, Kobe Schrader will get some kick return duties overall as well. And so you've got an extremely intact offense and defense returning. After a successful run last season, your coaching staff essentially remained intact. Remember now, McGenius, his assistants get poached all the time, but you're gonna have essentially the same coaching staff and assistants in place. And so Shula is back, heading up the defense as coach, and McGenius, of course, will be calling the plays. You know how he does it. Now, as you know, if you have followed any of my previous episodes, I have no problem heaping praise upon Coach McGenius. And in turn, I have no problem applying criticism when it is due. Now, as you know, I have been very concerned about Coach McWonder's lack of balance and his proclivity to pass happiness. You know about it. But my position was always, if you don't have the weapons to pull it off, it's a foolhardy venture. But this season, I'm here to tell you that even if the coach is out of balance, which you know he will be, he's a pass happy type individual, he's got the weapons to pull it off. And so I hope he doesn't get way too far out of whack to the point where it starts costing the team games. But I, for my part, intend to apply a great amount of latitude and patience and wait and see how the product plays out, even if the coach abandons fundamental principles of balance. So we'll see how it plays out, but I believe he's got the weapons now where he might want to be a little pass heavy versus the previous 2 years when, well, you didn't quite have the personnel. Now, or they were injured. Now, having said that, you know, I have told you on many occasions that I believe Coach McGenius is the finest coach the Rams have ever had in any location. And so I expect that with his, because I mean, everyone gives him credit for the X's and O's and scheming up the plays and all of that. But I think where he excels maybe most of all is he is an outstanding and extraordinary motivator of men. He is a great leader in terms of getting buy-in from his personnel and then being able to execute it. And so I expect with the combination of returning coaching staff, with returning frontline players, with McGenius back in the saddle, and I just have to believe this year we will see what we've been waiting for from the Rams: consistent, dominant play throughout the season. I don't believe they're going to be victim to the slow starts that have plagued them over the last 3 seasons. Not this year. I think they come out the gate running. And so, let's segue right into it then. Let's look at the Rams' schedule. Let's take a look at the schedule. They start with Houston. Okay, hey, you know, Texans are a playoff team. I expect they will be again this year. But I think the Rams can get that dub to open the season. And then they got Tennessee. That should get them off to 2-0. 2-0. And then the Rams fly out to see the Eagles in Philadelphia. And so they may take an L out there. But then they get the hapless Colts following week with Daniel Jones as your quarterback. Yeah, I think they rebound nicely. That's a win. Then the Niners, Thursday night football at the Palace in Inglewood. And, well, I believe they'll whoop up on them damn Niners and Father Shanahan. And then they go out to Baltimore where the Marvelous and the Ravens probably will handle them. But they, right before the bye, they get Jacksonville Jaguars, who strong stank, in my opinion. And so I think at the bye, the Rams are sitting pretty at 5-2, and that's how you start off the season, my folks. And so after the bye, New Orleans, one of the worst teams in the NFL, I'm sure, come to town, and then they go out to San Fran, and maybe Father gets him out there. I'll give San Fran that dub, but then Seattle comes to the Palace, and I think the Rams handle the Hawks. And then Tampa Bay. Well, Tampa Bay is a pretty good team. They have been for a minute now. Maybe the Bucks get them. Maybe they don't. I think they can handle the Bucks. Carolina, they got them. The Cardinals, they got them. Then they play Detroit. Well, maybe put them up. The Lions by then are so beat down, they're already on the decline. Or maybe they're fighting for playoff position at that point. It'll be mid-December. Maybe they lose to Detroit. This might be the point in the schedule where they see their first 2-game losing streak, Detroit and then at Seattle. Maybe they lose that one. But I believe they will bounce back nicely. They will beat the Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons, and then finish with a victory over the Cardinals. And so that will be bird-to-bird massacres. And so then you're looking at a 12-5 season, my folks, 12-5. Now I believe the Rams will win the NFC West at 12-5 and move on to the playoffs. So at this point, let's just finish it off with the overall predictions. Well, honestly, I scoured the standings from last year and my expectations from this year around the NFL, and I really don't see a whole lot of changeover in it. And there usually is at least three or four different teams, but to make the playoffs. But this year, based on my projections, I'm only going to say one new playoff team in each conference. And so let's start with the AFC. The AFC, I believe the Bills will be the class of the division and they will earn a postseason berth. The Ravens will be the class of the AFC North. They will earn a postseason berth. The Texans will earn the AFC South division and the AFC West. Well, KC. I'm still going to go with KC there, but not so dominant this year as in previous years. And so then your 3 wild card teams, well, I'm going to give the Cincinnati Bengals a wild card spot. I think they'll squeak in. I'm going to give the LA Chargers a wild card spot. I think they'll squeak in. And the last one, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. I think those will be your 7 squads in the postseason in the AFC. Let's look at the NFC. The NFC, well, the Eagles will be the class of the NFC East. NFC North, I believe the Lions are going to drop off and the Packers are going to ascend. And look what happened. I don't know. Jerry Jones, he seems to be losing it. I mean, they were always operating under delusion, but now it seems like he's embraced the delusion. We're lousy and maybe lightning will strike and something will change, but if not, hey, I can still talk all the time about various ramblings. And that seems to be pleasing enough for him. I don't really see that he's all that focused on winning, and so good for Micah Parsons. Get the hell out of there. Go where you can get some postseason action, because it's not coming in Dallas. Trust and believe, and I've been telling you this for the last 3 years, and I've been right. You know the Cowboys stanky. So, I believe in the NFC East. It will be Philly, and it will be the Commanders with the wild card. In the NFC North, it's going to be Lions and Packers and Lions. And I think they both get into the postseason. Maybe the Lions still hold on to the division, but the two of them will make the postseason. NFC South, that's the Bucks winning the division, and the NFC West, well, you already know it's the LA Rams. This you have already been given the breakdown for. So, the wild cards, Washington Commanders, either, Lions or Packers. I'll say Packers. And the third wild card, the final wild card from the NFC, I'm going to give it to the Dirty Birds. Atlanta, the Falcons, will be the final postseason participant in the NFC. And so, there you have it, my folks. The breakdown, I believe it'll be Baltimore and Buffalo in the AFC Championship game. It'll be the Rams and the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. And I already told you it's going to be Rams-Baltimore in the Super Bowl. And the Rams, well, my heart won't let me say otherwise. The Rams will be your world champions in 2026. And so there you have it. Now, what I'm going to ask now from you, what I need now for you to do is throw me one of these. Please like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think and hit the bell so you'll know when I upload my next video. And until the next one, which you know won't be too long from this one, because we will be back on the other side of the Houston Rams opening game of the NFL campaign, and we will chop it up then. But until then, my friends, Scotty says, thanks for watching. One love. Go Rams.